I think men rely too heavily on their partners for emotional support.
I noticed a huge difference in the types of conversations I was having with my female friends versus my mates.
So the night of my breakup, it was a Thursday night. I remember feeling silence everywhere. I was hollow.
Early 40s, separated and in the fast lane to divorce. And whilst I was trying to work out what my life looked like, my thoughts were also kind of spiralling out of control.
This massive part of my life had just been slid out from underneath me. When I was in a relationship, I really looked forward to the weekends because, I could hang out with my partner, whereas now it was, all right, Saturday, Sunday's coming. I need something to distract myself.
For me, those loneliness and isolation periods that were the hardest were those times at night. The days were long, but they were filled in mostly with work. The nights were even longer when the dust settles and you're left by yourself, alone and to your own thoughts. That's when you really find out how challenging it is.
Those hours on a Saturday and a Sunday, just twiddling your thumbs and being left alone with my thoughts with no real distraction, that was really tough.
I realised I needed to reach out to talk to somebody. I started scrolling through my mobile phone, looking at my contacts, and I realised that there wasn't a single bloke in my life that I could reach out to have a conversation. And that's quite a lonely experience, feeling that kind of isolation.
I think some of my male friends, when they heard about the breakup, they were just instantly, oh, you'll be fine, what's the big deal? It actually made it a bit harder because that shut the door on the conversation of how I was actually feeling.
If you think about intergenerational role modelling of suck it up, soldier on and just kind of crack on with it, that's kind of what I grew up with. I think masculinity certainly plays a part, this historic form of masculinity, the idea that we need to be tough, we need to be strong, we need to be stoic. And in most cases that means not showing any emotions. When you're married, you are part of a team, a partnership, but it's also the way other people see you. So it's part of who you are. It becomes part of your identity.
I think men are definitely getting better at supporting each other emotionally. I know I had some chats with some of my close male friends that I've had for 10, 15 years, and we'd actually properly have a deep situation about why this might have happened, what the future looks like, how I'm going to be able to get over this in a healthy way and not going down that path of drinking every night, which I know that looks like the only outlet at times.
I noticed a huge difference in the types of conversations I was having with my female friends versus my mates. With the women, it was always, coffee conversations, Whole Foods and self-care checklists. With the blokes, it was all beers and bullshit. And, that was a lot of fun at the time, but you'd wake up the next morning not feeling great, and of course you hadn't talked about anything. There was one key turning point, and it was a mate that reached out to me and he said, Timbo, mate, we need to get you off the couch, outdoors and into some fresh air. The more we talked, the deeper it got, the better it felt. And after a while, he started to open up about some of his challenges as well.
I think men rely too heavily on their partners for emotional support, and I probably didn't realise that until after the relationship had ended, when all of my issues suddenly became, it was only me to figure them out. So I think there's definitely an element of pressure on the females in their life.
We need to get better at normalising conversations around mental health, about blokes feeling as though they have the permission to have conversations about the way they think, about the way they feel, especially in terms of treating vulnerability as a strength, because unless you can scratch beneath the surface of the beers and bullshit, how are you ever going to find out what's going on?
I think breakups can be the best thing ever for a man. You become the person steering the ship as opposed to sort of letting the relationship sort of take you.
And ultimately, if I break it all down, it's made me a better person, a different person, but it's also a new and improved version. And I'm quite proud of that.